Welcome to ECCSC live on CAN TV. I'm your host Tyrone Muhammad. It's been a while since let's say this, we're back. And since we've last had our audience here at CAN TV, a lot of things have changed for ECCSC. Progress, a lot of trials, tribulations, more good than bad. When I say trials and tribulations, I want to clarify that. It's like when you watch all this violence taking place and you're an active part of it becomes personal, and we're part of the elimination of violence per se, and it weighs heavy on your heart to see so many murders, so much shooting, so much violence that has ravaged our communities. And then sometimes you almost feel hopeless because that particular feeling that going to funerals and watching mothers cry over their sons who've lost their lives, and everything that's in between, what that entails, the therapy, the mental health aspects. And it's like, at what point do we, as men, as a community, and I always say men because I believe, and I'm a firm believer, that men are the maintainers and sustainers of our women and our children, our communities. And it's also on us to provide a sense of livelihood, whereas our women and children could thrive in peace and they're allowed to be themselves without having to compromise themselves or their identity, where the family is the most important aspect of a man's life, I would hope. And with that being said, ECCSC, we have expanded. A lot of brothers are starting to come home, and we're starting to be let's say, gel and put together different components as we build out our narrative for the future and the present. And the greatest things and the greatest accomplishment that I believe we can have on our community is to be great mentors and guides to these young brothers looking in need of mentor, a guidance. These young men, and dealing with them and seeing the hurt and pain and sometimes shame on their face as a result of not being able to do and be what they would love to do and be. And what that means is that no child should feel afraid to venture on his block or outside of his block for fear of reprisal or losing his life for merely being a black man or a black child in a violent community or violent society. Violence has become the norm, it seems, for Chicago and beyond, because we're here, so we feel it in our communities, in our city. But overall, violence is affecting and effecting the whole country. Cause and effect is real. Violence, in my opinion, is in Chicago. I would say, based on what I know from seeing the carnage on our streets, it's a mental health situation. Violence is a mental health disease. Violence is a disease. And it's unfortunate that our people that look like me, men that look like me, women that look like me, fall victim to violence, bloodshed, murder, gang, drugs, and violence. What do that look like? I'm very careful of not pretty much referring to these young men as gangs, because everybody is looking for family and something to hold on to, something to be a part of, and expressing that You know, some people take offense to that because these young men that I talk to see the police as a gang, see fraternities and sororities as a gang. They see Masons. They see all these different groups that we have identified. And they receive religion as an organized structure, a gang in a sense, but yet posture as though we're holier than thou when we should be trying to save and resurrect the dead. Save our community, save our sons, save our daughters. With that being said, for those who tuning in for the first time, ECCSC live here on CAN TV. Normally I will have you to call in and with your questions and comments. But today I wanted to just, since we've been away for a while, I wanted to just talk about a few things. And in this 30-minute block, the time about what it is that we intend to do moving forward in our violence prevention and our peace initiatives. Linking with the elected officials, law enforcement, civic and social organizations to create a great, a different form of collaboration. I have watched from the mayor's office to the Chicago Police Department. I have put forth measures and philosophy and theory on how to reduce violence and how to make the communities inclusive, and have a stake in the city and what's going on in our communities. I've seen that language used all throughout, in these political arenas, but it's like we don't get the credit. They speak a lot of the things that we say, and they use it and take it as though it was theirs. And they never call the guys in the communities to say, hey, what do you suggest? How do you suggest we go at this attack? Let's try every approach. That's the greatest thing I believe the mayor could do, elected officials, period, and those in authority at the Chicago Police Department. You have to be able to bring in those community partners that can help you link resources to these young men out here that's struggling. ECCSC, Violence Interrupters, God's Guerrillas, and a number NEC, and a number of organizations that I've identified. Sisters to Sisters, Father Sons, and all these different organizations work hard to provide a drop in the ocean of change. They do all that they can with the resources they have. And it's like we see the violence, it seems not to stop. It's like over this weekend, and I'm going to just keep it real. We are so concerned with celebrations and festivals in this city. And it seems like we don't put the same effort and resources into attacking and addressing violence and murder, and our women who are coming up missing in these communities and streets. Women and girls are coming up missing in these communities, and it's like it falls on deaf ear because the resources are not allocated to even forcefully go after that or to solve that. And if there is a serial killer and what that looks like, we need to be taken, our women and girls' lives need to be taken seriously. And we need to have a serious dialogue on that. It has to be serious oversight and investigation on why that is not so. And as we continue to grow and build and hold those in authority accountable to the people who elected them or selected them, by whatever mean that looks like. We have to hold our elected officials accountable to provide and bring the proper resource. Not just provide the resources, but to hold those who receive the resources accountable. I would like to be transparent whenever there's an opportunity, anything that I have or receive, to have transparency in what it is that I receive as in the form of resources. Okay, and furthermore, ECCSC, ex-cons for community and social change. We have to provide a change. We have to be the change we want to see. Because if this has been going on before I was born, before you was born, and society continue to be in a downward spiral, it can only change by those within those communities, those spaces of living, business, social, political arenas. It's going to take the people who provide who give their resources to these businesses, who give their vote to the legislators, and who also give their tithe and their tip to the pastors and and the ministers. We have to hold these ones accountable because they are the ones who claim to be the leaders of the people. And if they are the leaders of the people, then there should be accountability to the people. As well, the police department. These men are in our communities to serve and protect us. None of us as citizens should feel like we should have to watch our back against the very individuals whose tax dollars we pay out to fund police forces. We should not feel like criminals in our own neighborhood. And you can't just classify every black man you see or woman as a problem. We still have to have a level of respect from law enforcement and to the people. There have to be a level of respect, mutual respect. And we're going to hold politician oversight committees have to be created to hold the the police department accountable. And I'm not talking about the current oversight committee. I'm talking about a different type of oversight committee that actually arrived, that's on the scene, that's active and present, even where the police department is, or whether it's in the street or in the meeting rooms and with the commanders to try to shall I say, bridge the gap between the good cops and the bad cops. We have to identify which is which. And I'm telling you, once we do that, you will see a systematic change because now we up. They see the people are active, the people are involved, and the people are not allowed. The same wool cannot be pulled over the people in the community eyes today when we are aware. On top of that, our young men out there. The young men are not fighting guidance. They're not fighting change. It's just that we have to have the right key or the right product to present, to give them, that would allow them to morph into something greater than what they are accustomed to and used to seeing. There's not enough examples in our community on manhood. We need real manhood training programs that allows us to tackle these issues of depression, low self-esteem. Because at the end of the day, a lot of what you see on the street are brothers acting out a level of emotional frustration and self-esteem, a lack of self-esteem. Self-esteem is real. How you gauge that in each individual, you can't really tell what that looked like until you grab these young brothers, you capture them in a space where there's one-on-one brother to brother, big brother to little homie to big homie, and they would express that. Everybody suffer from some form of esteem. We always say we don't care. I don't care about what people think about me. That's just, the adult version. But ultimately, we care about what somebody think about us. If not God, who? You have to care about something. And there's no one that really don't care about nothing. That's impossible. Even when I say I don't care, I care about my community. I care about a lot of things that's dear to me. So it's all these expressions are merely just as father, I would say. They not really they don't define the true essence of who and what this individual is or person is. Community and social change. That's our life. It has to be. We have to change our community. We have to create a new social paradigm that allows us to connect, that brings us back to the community. Meaning that if there's an old lady next door, man, we have to know she's there. We have to be the men who will shovel the snow, will cut the grass, will protect them in the darkness of the night, man, from harm. Because everyone don't have the same family, relationships that would do that for them that live in their home or environment. So we have to be a part of that change we want to see. So it's okay to knock on your neighbor's door and say hello. We need to recreate that. That used to be the order of the day. You knew who was on your block. Now we don't even know who next door. We could live in a 3-flat unit, and you wouldn't even know the person on the bottom of. You could be on the second floor, and you won't know the person on the third floor or the first floor. How do that even happen? How do people become so isolated in their own issues that the cares of the world is not, the concerns of the world that they live in don't matter to them? When the concerns of the world should be a major, should be a personal thing to us. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to next month, sometime in August, I believe. The first week or the second week, we want to put on a major peace concert, a peace picnic rather, to bring about a collaboration with several, I want to call it the South Side. First we do the South Side picnic, and it will be free to the community. Everyone will be able to come out, and we want to be able to bring celebrities. We have a lot of sponsors that's lining up, and we want to be able to promote and push peace. Peace, like I say once again, if they will not do it for us, they will not do it for us. It's going to take us to save us. So we have to create the atmosphere. We have to put the groundwork in. We have to make it so. We have to do, I'm going to say it like this. We have to do enough work where it's just tirelessly working and advocating on change and progress to a point where they cannot deny us no more. They can't say, they can't deny the work that we do because it's evident. And we line the people up. It's all about numbers, people. It's all about numbers. Trust me, they don't care about the conditions more than they care about the numbers that will get out and vote about the conditions. The conditions have always existed, but yet we still select the same representatives year after year after year after year, from state rep to local, where we know all politics is local, to aldermen and committeemen, congressmen, state senators. We elect these people over and over again, and they give us nothing in return. It's time to organize and organize effectively. As an ex-con assisted organization with with a global appeal, because there's prisons in every country, people. Prisons, ex-cons and prisoners are like third-class citizens in this society. Even after you served your debt to society, those individuals still continue to hold you accountable for your past, while at the same time asking us to forgive them for the past sins of their ancestors, or to forgive them for their indiscretion is what they ask God to do when we err or fall into trials that sometimes is greater than our human ability to resist. So with that being said, we have to start looking at the broader community. We need to be able to bring and tie these relationships so that we can bring in our coalitions and our partners for peace and our partners for economic self-sufficiency. Because that, in the end, violence needs a job. We have to be able to hold these businesses in our communities accountable to those in the community. It is not okay for businesses to suck the wealth out of our communities and not be asked to put some form of community benefit, to perform a community benefit. It's not wrong to demand that. How is it okay to suck our blood, to suck our wealth, and never put anything back in the very community that enriches you and your family's lives? Businessmen in America has a responsibility. What that look like is different for each businessman. But every businessman, every corporate giant, especially in America, and in Chicago, we're coming to you. We're going to hold you accountable. We're coming to your doors. We're coming to your office space. We're not going to stop. We're going to say, thus said the Lord. Y'all know what the Lord said? Where were you hungry and I fed you not? Where were I in prison and you visited me not? That which you do to the least of these, you do also unto me. See, this is a Judeo-Christian society. And our communities does not look like the churches that's lined up throughout our communities. Our communities look like a war zone opposed to a spiritual revival. That's by design, people. So many 501c3 pimps and prostitutes, where the money, the resources that they are given in grant funding and dollars, or even private donations, never trickle down to the communities. If you live better than the people you serve, and you okay with not giving back to the people you serve, you're a hypocrite. You live better than the people you serve, and the people you serve do not benefit from your leadership. You're a hypocrite. This is for real. This is truth. I'm just talking to you and my audience and to the people candidly to just say, nah, man, the jig is up. The jig is up. You can accept it or let it alone. You don't have to like it, but change is inevitable. People are fed up and tired. We spent decades being locked up for marijuana. Decades. Being locked up for weed and other drugs. Now they fighting over drug depots. They're fighting over every corner store. You dumbing down the people with the substances. You dumb the people down, you make the people zombies. With paraphernalia, every corner store have tobacco and weed paraphernalia that our children are being introduced to. While we sit back and watch the games being played against our communities. We watch this as men, our communities, being victimized and demoralized, the denigration of our communities while we watch. We watch the death of our sons, our brothers, our cousins, our little homies. And we do nothing about it. We don't stand on the front line to say, hey man, I'm one person, but I got a voice. We have to unify around that truth. You could no longer allow people to come in your neighborhoods and don't put anything back into it. If you come in our neighborhoods, you should be expected to make them better, not make them worse. Liquor stores, paraphernalia has infiltrated our neighborhoods in a way that I've never seen. Every store that you walk into, children are being introduced to tobacco. I don't even see top papers no more. They use cigar wrappers just to smoke weed. Yeah, you're taxing something that's going to hurt our communities and enrich someone else. We lose on both ends. We are further devalued and demoralized and have substance abuse issues on top of our mental health with an 80% unemployment rate for young black men in Chicago. An 80% unemployment rate for young black men, and I'm going to say it again, in Chicago. Thank you, Mayor. All right, Mayor, we got a new mayor. Beautiful. But who at the table? Who is at the table really that's from the ground? Who is giving these individuals advice? What, intellectuals? So-called intellectuals that never step foot in a trap house? that don't understand the fear that these young brothers have when it comes to carrying on their Glocks and their guns. Next week we're gonna have a few guests, violence interrupters, and a few other guests that deal in the economic realm. We have to bring a systemic change, a forceful change to this violence, as well as reducing unemployment. So hope to see you next week. Tune in the same time next week, 7 o'clock on ECCSC Live on CAN TV. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Tyrone Muhammad. Peace.